Hey guys, Mark here, and last month I showed you guys my basement home theater setup with the motorized leather chairs, LED lit projector screen, and 5.1 surround sound setup, and that's cool and all, but it took a lot of effort to set up, and it's not really something you can put in a space like your living room if aesthetics is important to you, or in my case, my significant other. But ideally, you'd have the best of both worlds, right? You'd get something that sounds great, but that also looks great too, and that's where this new soundbar that LG sent out comes in. This is a 7.1.4 surround sound soundbar from LG, the SN11RG, and you might be thinking to yourself, how in the heck can a soundbar be 7.1.4? Well, this soundbar actually comes with a huge wireless subwoofer and two wireless rear speakers, and the way they all work together is pretty neat. The soundbar itself has a bunch of speakers all along the middle here for your center channel like normal, but then it also has speakers on the ends of the soundbar to access your left and right front channels. Not only that, but there are also these two large speakers on the top of the soundbar that will fire sound upwards, which will effectively act the same way as overhead speakers would in a traditional Dolby Atmos setup. And this soundbar does have Dolby Atmos support, by the way, which we'll talk about in just a bit. All right, let's talk features. This soundbar comes equipped with Bluetooth and the Google Assistant built straight into it, along with support with wireless streaming apps like Spotify, Google Play Music, and Pandora. By now, you guys know how to activate Google Assistant. You can just say, hey, and then that special keyword that I'm not going to say right now because I don't want to trigger this gal. But you can also activate it by hitting the dedicated Assistant button on this handy dandy remote that comes with it. I love having the Google Assistant integrated inside this soundbar because I can just ask it to play anything I want through this sound system since it's connected to my Spotify Premium. But it does have one quirk that I'd love LG to fix through a software update. The Google Assistant by default is way louder than anything my TV plays, so every time I activate the Assistant, she absolutely deafens me with her response. I'd love the ability to control her volume independently of the volume of whatever I'm watching. That'd be great. Other than the remote, the soundbar also has a touch bar on the top that can be used to control it. There's a power button, the button for switching sources, volume and play or pause buttons, a mute button for the microphones, and another Google Assistant button. This is also where the two microphones for the Assistant are. The wireless rear speakers work in a similar way. Like normal rears, these have speakers on the front that will shoot audio towards you from behind, but like the soundbar, they also have speakers on the top that will shoot audio above your head. When the soundbar, rear speakers, and subwoofer all act together, the sound seems like it's coming from all around you, and that's not something you get very often with soundbar setup. Pressing buttons on the touch bar on the top or the remote will change the tiny screen on the front of the soundbar so that you get just a little bit of feedback as to what you're doing. This soundbar has 5 different sound modes that you can switch between by pressing the sound effect button. There's standard, movie, music, AI sound, and bass. 4 of those 5 are pretty self-explanatory, but the AI sound one is interesting. The SN11RG is able to use an algorithm to automatically adjust the sound of whatever you're watching on the fly. It works pretty well in a lot of different scenarios. I like it for TV shows where it'll bring up the mids for more clarity when someone is speaking on the screen. The soundbar also comes with what they call AI sound calibration, where it supposedly analyzes the environment that the soundbar is in and adjusts the sound profile to best match that space. You can do that by connecting your soundbar to the official LG app and then clicking the AI sound calibration button. Seriously though, don't do this at night where anyone is sleeping because this thing makes a lot of noise when you do. In terms of connectivity, this soundbar has 2 HDMI ins, a HDMI eARC out that goes to your TV, an optical audio port, and a USB port. I feel like you guys know what most of this stuff does, but the inclusion of eARC here is pretty cool. It supports full 4K pass-through along with supporting high-resolution, uncompressed audio at 24-bit 192 kilohertz. Speaking of high-res audio, it's time to get down to business. Let's talk about how this system sounds. LG partnered with Meridian on this soundbar like a lot of their other products. Meridian is the company that makes high-end sound systems for companies like Jaguar and Land Rover, so they've got a pretty good track record. First off, I just want to say that, like I mentioned earlier, LG did send this out for review, but they ain't paying me, so I'm not going to butter this thing up at all. If it sounded bad, I'd tell you it sounds bad. I'm glad it doesn't though, because that would make a bit of an awkward email. Hey, thanks for the soundbar. It's terrible, by the way. Anyway, like I mentioned before, this sound system supports Dolby Atmos as well as DTS-X for what they call an exceptional cinema experience at home. And honestly, that's kind of accurate. It kind of blows my mind that something like this that's thin enough to fit under your TV along with a couple of rear speakers can make it seem like the audio is coming from everywhere. I love watching this opening sequence from The Last Jedi where Poe is zipping around attacking the Dreadnought. Not my favorite Star Wars movie, but at least it sounds awesome. It's a little trippy sometimes because it sounds like there's stuff flying around to the left, the right, and even overhead like it normally would on a true 7.1.4 system. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The sound is coming from a lot of really small speakers, so it can sound a little less full than some speakers with bigger tweeters like my Klipsch sound system downstairs. But the subwoofer impressed me enough to make up for that. It can produce really deep and resonating tones very faithfully, and on more than one occasion I actually had to turn the bass down a little because it was vibrating stuff on our glass coffee tables behind me. There are plenty of high-resolution codecs supported for music listening here too, like FLAC, Apple's lossless ALAC, and WAV files, of course. So overall, I really like this soundbar setup. It's small enough to blend into our living room without drawing too much attention to itself, and the sound is big enough to keep us happy in almost every scenario. I'll still probably watch all my movies downstairs in my dedicated home theater, but now that the living room has a great sound setup, I definitely don't mind coming up here to watch TV or listen to music. This sound system is definitely not for everybody though. I'd even go as far as to say that LG is targeting a pretty niche premium market here, especially because of the price. The soundbar is going to retail for a hefty $1,700 US. So if you don't mind shelling out extra dough for both good looks and good sound with a healthy side of features, this thing's for you. Otherwise, LG's got a bunch of cheaper soundbars for you to check out on their website, which I'll link below. That's it for me though. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to support my channel. And as always, have a great day.